When a man truly understands the power of silence and detachment, everything begins to change. Not suddenly, but quietly, like a tide pulling back before the next great wave. Most men panic when distance appears. They text too much, explain too long, fight to be understood. They think chasing will bring her closer, but all it does is prove they've lost control of themselves. Brother, this is the turning point. The moment you stop reacting, the energy shifts. Your silence stops being absence. It becomes presence. Every message you don't send, every word you choose not to say, begins to speak louder than anything you could have said out loud. She feels that shift in her bones. The calm that used to come from your attention is now gone, replaced by uncertainty. And while she wonders where your warmth went, you start to feel something else, clarity. The noise fades, the pulse steadies. You breathe again, because silence, when rooted in strength, doesn't chase validation. It reclaims it. So listen closely. This journey isn't about playing games. It's about mastering yourself. When you stop needing to control her emotions, you start controlling your own, and that's when everything flips. If this truth speaks to you, brother, subscribe to Stoic Station and start this journey now. Like this video, so other men can find it when they need it most. Now tell me in the comments, drop a 1 if she's still on your mind, or a 2 if you've already started outgrowing her. Because in the next part, we'll go deeper into how emotional control flips the entire dynamic and why the man who stays calm always wins. Let's dive in. 1. Control the emotion. Control the game. The moment you stop chasing, everything flips. The power, the silence, the attention. It all begins to shift toward you. Most men never understand this until they've lived it. They think that stepping back means giving up, that walking away means losing. But in truth, the second you stop trying to convince her of your worth, she's forced to finally see it for herself. Every text you don't send, every reaction you hold back, every time you choose peace over panic, you're communicating something powerful. You're saying, without words, I don't chase, I attract. I don't need to prove my value, I embody it. That quiet confidence speaks volumes, far louder than any plea or explanation ever could. At first, she'll act unfazed. She'll stay busy, surround herself with distractions, laugh a little louder in public as if nothing's changed. But underneath that performance, the stillness starts to grow heavier. Late at night, when the noise fades and the phone stays silent, her mind begins to race. Questions creep in. Why hasn't he reached out? Did I push him too far? Has he already moved on? That's when the dynamic quietly reverses. The more you detach emotionally, the more gravity you regain. But understand this, it's not about controlling her, it's about mastering yourself. Emotional control isn't about withholding affection, it's about refusing to give your peace away to someone who hasn't earned it. When you can sit in silence without needing her to respond, you become untouchable. And in that stillness, she feels the change. She senses your calm detachment, and it unsettles her. Because the man who once reacted now responds. The man who once chased now attracts. The man who once sought approval now walks with quiet certainty. She realizes she no longer holds power over your emotions, and that realization makes her lose control of hers. That's the paradox she never expected. When you no longer need her validation, she starts craving yours. And as your silence grows stronger, the balance of power shifts entirely. The chase doesn't end, it simply changes direction. What was once her comfort zone becomes her uncertainty, and your calm presence becomes the thing she can't stop thinking about. Because the truth is, when a man controls his emotions, he controls the entire game. And that's when everything begins to turn in his favor. 2. She forgot your worth. until silence spoke. Every man who has ever loved deeply knows this feeling, the ache of giving everything to someone who slowly stopped seeing its value. You were consistent, you showed up, you gave her peace, stability, and the kind of emotional safety most people spend their lives searching for. But over time, she mistook that steadiness for predictability. She confused reliability with weakness. What she didn't realize was that your patience wasn't submission. It was strength held in restraint. She got used to your kindness like people get used to sunlight. It's warm, comforting, and easy to take for granted. She assumed your presence would never fade, that no matter how many times she pulled away, you'd always be there waiting. But that's the illusion of comfort. People rarely recognize peace until it disappears. They mistake the calm for something permanent, until chaos walks in to replace it. And when you finally pull your energy back, not in anger, not in revenge, but in self-respect, she begins to feel the silence. It doesn't happen all at once. It's gradual. The laughter she once had doesn't sound as full. The conversations with others lack depth. The attention she gets might inflate her ego for a moment, but it never reaches her soul. That's when she starts to sense something's missing. She scrolls through messages, looks at old photos, remembers the steadiness in your eyes when life was uncertain. Every new face she meets reminds her of what's absent. The peace she once dismissed, the balance she once thought was boring. Because no matter how charming or exciting someone new might seem, they can't recreate the presence of a man who was truly grounded. Your silence becomes a mirror she can't escape. It reflects back everything she lost, not through words, but through contrast. She begins to replay every small detail, the way you listened without judgment, how your calm energy settled her storms, how your presence made her feel safe without her even realizing it. Now, she can't duplicate it. Because real emotional depth, the kind you offered, can't be copied, only felt. And when it's gone, the absence hits harder than she ever expected. Here's the truth most men miss. When you take away your energy, you don't create emptiness. You reveal it. You show her the void that was already inside, hidden beneath her pride, distractions, and the illusion of control. And when that void begins to ache, it doesn't sound like regret. It sounds like your name. That's when her pride starts to crumble. She begins to wonder why no one else makes her feel as grounded, why attention feels shallow, and why your silence feels louder than her own thoughts. That's the power of absence. It doesn't beg to be noticed, but it demands to be felt. Because silence is the ultimate truth-teller. It doesn't argue, it doesn't justify, it simply exposes who really brought peace and who only borrowed it. And when she finally realizes the difference, it's too late to unsee it. She thought your energy would always be there. But now, that energy has turned inward, fueling your growth, your peace, your purpose. And that shift? That's when she starts to feel what she once made you feel, the ache of losing someone irreplaceable. And as your silence deepens, so does her understanding of what she lost. That's when the story quietly turns, and for the first time, she's the one who feels the emptiness that once belonged to you. 3. Silence turns into power. There comes a moment when silence stops being just quiet. It becomes power, real power. Because silence is not emptiness, it's discipline. It's the point where a man no longer seeks to be understood by someone who refused to listen. It's the calm before transformation. When your peace stops being negotiable and your presence starts speaking louder than your words ever could. When you stop reacting, something incredible happens. You force her to confront herself. The noise she once used to distract her, the social media posts, the laughter with friends, the late-night messages, none of it fills the growing void. Because every night, When the noise fades and she's alone, the silence starts to echo. It's no longer just the absence of your voice, it's the reflection of her own actions. She starts to realize that what she once saw as control was actually dependence, that she had relied far more on your emotional stability than she ever admitted. At first, she'll think your silence is a tactic. She'll tell herself you're playing games, trying to manipulate her. But the longer the quiet stretches, the more that illusion shatters. She begins to see the truth. Your detachment isn't manipulation, it's evolution. You're not withholding anything, you've simply moved beyond the need to chase what doesn't value you. That's not revenge, that's growth. And that realization humbles her. The man who once explained himself now needs no explanation. The man who once sought her reassurance now finds it within. The man who once reacted to her distance is now the one creating it. With purpose, not pain. That kind of composure is magnetic, because mystery draws deeper than familiarity. What's predictable loses its pull. What's calm becomes intriguing. Your restraint becomes rare in a world addicted to validation. Your composure becomes desirable in a world obsessed with reaction. And your silence, measured, deliberate, unshaken, becomes unforgettable. There's something deeply powerful about a man who can stay still while others lose control. Because when you embrace stillness, you step into a space where emotion no longer rules you, it serves you, and that energy changes everything. That's when the tables turn. She starts wondering what gave you that strength, who you're becoming, whether she's already been replaced. She begins to crave the peace she once took for granted. The irony is timeless. The moment you stop trying to win her back is the moment she starts trying to win you. And that's the quiet truth every man must understand. Silence doesn't push her away, it draws her in. Because a man grounded in stillness doesn't just regain his power, he becomes the gravity she can't escape. 4. Regret always arrives late. Regret doesn't make a grand entrance. It slips in quietly, almost unnoticed. It begins with a song that plays in the background while she's driving, one that used to mean nothing but now stops her mid-thought. It continues with a familiar place, the cafe you both liked, the corner table where you sat and laughed. Suddenly, those small details start to sting. One night, she catches herself scrolling through old conversations, searching for the moment where everything shifted, wondering how something that felt so solid started to fade. She'll tell herself she's fine. She'll tell her friends she's moved on. She'll repeat that story so many times she almost believes it. But late at night, when the world grows still and there's no one left to impress, the silence gets heavier. That's where regret grows. In the quiet, in the space where your presence used to be. The mind begins to betray her pride. Did I really lose him for good? Did I push away the one man who would have never left me? Those questions become louder than any music, more real than any distraction. This is the point where many men fail the test. They sense that energetic pull, that flicker of curiosity, and they rush back in, hoping to fix what time is already fixing for them. But this is where your discipline must speak louder than your impulse. You don't chase her thoughts. You let her thoughts chase you. You let her sit in the discomfort her ego created. Because your silence isn't cruelty, it's accountability. It reminds her that choices always have consequences, and that losing a man of peace is the kind of lesson no woman ever forgets. As time stretches on, her memory begins to filter. The arguments blur. The imperfections fade. What remains are the feelings, the way you made her feel grounded when everything else felt uncertain, the calm steadiness in your presence that no one else could match. That emotional contrast becomes her mirror. Every new connection feels thinner, every conversation more forced, every compliment less meaningful. The laughter with other men sounds louder but emptier, because peace, once experienced, can't be replaced by noise. You don't need to send her reminders of what she lost. Life will do that for you. It's the way she catches herself comparing every man to you without meaning to. It's the hollow silence after the thrill of someone new fades away. It's the discomfort that follows when she realizes excitement doesn't equal safety. Over and over, life hands her quiet moments that point back to you, the one who stayed steady while she was uncertain. Eventually, she realizes something profound. She isn't just missing you. She's missing who she was when she was with you. She remembers the version of herself that felt seen, secure, and understood. The woman who could rest instead of performing, who could speak without guarding every word. You didn't just give her love, you gave her calm. And once a woman experiences that kind of peace, every chaotic connection after you feels like punishment. That's the paradox of your silence. It doesn't just remind her of your absence, it reminds her of her own loss of self. You've become the mirror that forces her to see the truth she's been running from, that she pushed away something rare, something real, something built on stability, not ego. And while she wrestles with that truth, you continue moving forward. You're not proving a point or waiting for validation, you're living your evolution. Because while she's learning through regret, you're growing through acceptance. And the irony is this: her regret becomes the very proof of your transformation. The more you rise, the deeper it cuts, because now she sees it clearly. You were never the one who lost anything. So let time do what it does best. Let silence work its way into her thoughts. Because eventually, every woman who took peace for granted learns the same lesson. Regret doesn't knock when it arrives, it settles in. And when it does, it whispers your name in the quiet hours, reminding her that some men, once gone, never truly disappear. 5. Rise above, reclaim your peace. There's a moment when a man realizes that true strength has nothing to do with proving her wrong. It's about proving himself right. It's not about winning an argument or getting the last word. It's about walking away with dignity, with your integrity intact, and rebuilding the calm she once took for granted. That's the difference between reaction and mastery, because when you truly detach, it's not indifference, it's control. You've learned to command the one force that shapes every outcome in your life, your emotions. The day you stop letting her behavior dictate your peace is the day you rise above the storm. You no longer wake up checking for her messages. You no longer measure your worth by her attention. You stop being the man who waits for validation and become the man who creates his own. That shift, the quiet, internal one, changes everything. Because while she's busy trying to decode your silence, you're busy building your center. And that's when she begins to feel the distance. She can sense that your energy no longer revolves around her. She wonders what changed, what gave you that calmness, that unshakable composure. She can feel your power even in your absence. That mystery, that quiet authority, pulls at her in ways words never could. Because the truth is, your silence isn't passive. It's progress in motion. Every day you spend focused on your purpose, your growth, and your discipline, you widen the gap between the man you were and the man you're becoming. While she's chasing attention, you're chasing purpose. While she's replaying memories, you're rewriting your story. While she's trapped in nostalgia, you're building a future that no longer depends on being chosen. And that's the part she never expected. She thought walking away would weaken you. Instead, it awakened you. She thought silence meant surrender. Instead, it meant evolution. Eventually, the realization hits her. You've moved beyond the place where she once held power. She's no longer the center of your world, and that truth shakes her to her core. Because rejection stings the ego, but indifference wounds the soul. There's nothing more haunting to someone who once had control over your emotions than seeing you unaffected. That's when she finally understands. Your peace was the real privilege all along. And the more you protect that peace, the louder it becomes. You don't need to argue, prove, or chase. Your stillness says it all. The calm in your silence speaks volumes about your strength. And the longer you hold that frame, the more the world begins to respond differently to you, including her. You don't need revenge. You don't need closure. You don't even need to be understood. You just need to keep walking with purpose, knowing that every step away from chaos brings you closer to your truth. Because the man who rises above doesn't just move on, he ascends. And the beauty of it all? The quieter you become, the more she hears you. The stronger your silence, the more she feels your absence. That's not punishment, it's power. The kind of power that comes from peace, from restraint, from knowing who you are without needing anyone to confirm it. So rise above, brother. Reclaim your peace. Because once you do, nothing and no one will ever have the power to take it from you again. 6. When she returns, you've already won. It always begins the same way, quietly, subtly, unexpectedly. One day your phone lights up with a message. Maybe it's a casual, "Hey stranger," or a harmless question about something long forgotten. But underneath that simplicity hides a storm, a woman facing the reality that she lost something real. What used to be her comfort has now become her regret, and what once felt replaceable has proven impossible to duplicate. Your silence became her teacher. It didn't just show her what life without you feels like, it revealed something deeper. It taught her that love isn't guaranteed, that not every man will stay no matter how she treats him, that the strongest men aren't the ones who fight to prove their worth, but the ones who can walk away in peace when they're no longer valued. She'll come back, but not because of what you said. Words never had this kind of power. She'll come back because your absence forced her to see herself, because your silence showed her the difference between attention and presence. While she was seeking validation, you were building value. While she was proving her independence, you were mastering your peace. And now, when she looks at you, grounded, focused, unbothered, she feels something she can't control, a mix of admiration, longing, and fear. Fear, because she no longer recognizes the man she once knew. Admiration, because she finally sees what you were becoming all along. And longing, because she realizes she no longer has access to it. You've evolved. You've become the man she always wanted, but no longer for her. That's the moment of true victory. Not when she returns, but when you realize you don't need her to. You've become whole without her presence. Your peace no longer depends on her response. And that's when your silence turns into strength, your detachment into power. She comes back not to reclaim what she lost, but to understand how you found what she couldn't, yourself. Brother, remember this truth. She doesn't return because you begged. She returns because your silence made her face her own emptiness, because your detachment exposed her dependence, because your peace became the very thing she craves most. When she reaches out, you no longer see her as the prize. You see her as the lesson. You've learned that love without respect isn't peace, it's noise. And the man who learns to walk away in peace becomes unforgettable, not because he vanished, but because he transformed. So if she comes back, let her see what real strength looks like. Not anger, not pride, but calm, grounded freedom. Because the man who's no longer controlled by emotion becomes the man who controls his destiny. And when you've reached that point, brother, the truth becomes clear. She didn't just lose you, you outgrew her. You've already won. You don't win by out-talking her, you win by outgrowing her. Power isn't rebuilt through noise. It's rebuilt through silence, through calm, through the strength of becoming a man she can no longer shake. So if you're in that quiet now, stay there. Because that stillness is where she finally feels your absence, and where you finally find yourself again. Stay calm, stay silent, stay sovereign. Brother, if this message reached something deep in you, don't let it fade here. Anchor it, like this video, so other men can find it when their world goes quiet too. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to Stoic Station. Then tell me below, when you finally stopped chasing, what shifted inside you? Because your story might be the spark another man needs to find his strength again. I'll see you in the next one, where we'll go deeper into the psychology of loss, power, and the quiet strength that makes a man unforgettable.